Angie just texted me. I'm going to try and see what it says. Hey, Christy, she's unable to join the meeting. Not sure what's happening.
She's the tech guru, the guru.
The link tells her the meeting hasn't started, she said.
Aaron, that picture doesn't look like you.
Me?
Yeah,
Now?
no, you put a picture up when you were off, and I didn't recognize you.
All right, hey, Christy, she said she'll join as an attendee and then switch her over.
I will. That sounds good. I'm running 2 meetings at the same time. I'll explain that in a moment. And I think that is causing some technical challenges on my end. So I don't see her yet as an attendee, but when she becomes, there are some attendees.
So to anyone out there in the internet world who is watching us, we are currently trying to get one more member of council onto the meeting Zoom, and then we will call to order and begin. We have not quite begun yet.
I am promoting Angie to a panelist. And once her video starts,
thank you guys. Sorry, I had a technical problem.
No worries.
we work.
You should be better at this by now.
I know, 5th time the charm. Okay.
Okay,
so Angie, you are welcome to start the meeting. I mean, sorry, Aaron.
Okay.
It is 7:04 on Wednesday, June 3rd, and I call this meeting of the village, special meeting of the Village Council to order. Mr. Jason, could you please do the roll call?
Sure. DiBernardo,
Here.
Evans,
Here.
Grube,
Here.
Newell,
Here.
Rocky,
Here.
Rogoff,
Here.
and Weibel.
And Mr. Wyville had a previous engagement tonight and could not join us. Can I have a motion to excuse his absence?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Rogoff, second by Newell. Roll call, please.
DiBernardo,
Aye.
Evans,
Aye.
Grube,
Aye.
Newell,
Aye.
Rocky,
Aye.
Rogoff. And who seconded that, Aaron?
Newell. Jim did.
Newell. Okay, got it.
Okay, we have one agenda item today. We have one legislative item today. It's the report of the law director. But I know we have some folks who have joined us. So do we want to introduce this and then do comments, or Dale?
Sure. Yeah, why don't I read the title? It's an ordinance declaring a moratorium and directing the administrator not to enforce planning and zoning code sections 1137.05 parens A parens 1 and 1138.05 parens A parens 2 until September 9, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
So this legislation would instruct the administration not to enforce a couple elements of our zoning code, which prohibits dining tables at restaurants from being placed in the rear and side yards of buildings. And this would be in effect until the Tuesday after Labor Day. So do we have people from the audience who would like to comment to these legislative items?
If you have logged on to the Zoom meeting as an attendee and would like to speak, please use the raise your hand function on the Zoom platform, at which time I can unmute you and give you an opportunity to speak. I am going to allow the person registered as John and Diane Moore to speak. Ask to unmute.
Hear us?
Yes.
Can we hear you?
Yes.
Okay, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, there you go. So our request was to be able to put a couple tables in our parking area in the rear of our restaurant, which is Aurelia on 16 North Main. due to the low capacity of our dining caused by the COVID-19 situation. And in talking, I've talked to the Ohio Liquor Control Board, who is very aggressively trying to help us with this. I have approval from the Cuyahoga County of Health with a letter. And we also have a letter from our landlord stating that he's acceptable to this.
Okay. Any questions here? Okay. Well, thank you for coming out to the town. I appreciate it. Christy, do we have anyone else who would want to speak to agenda items, legislative items?
Not through the raise your hand function. Please give me a moment to check the Q&A on a couple of platforms to see if we have any other questions that have been submitted.
Okay.
We have no other questions through Zoom or YouTube Live, and there are no hands raised in the Zoom platform. I am going to unmute attendees in case they don't know how to use the raise your hand function. If they wish to speak, they can.
Okay.
Are there any other attendees that would wish to speak at this time? There are not.
Okay. Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Okay, so council conversation.
So I'm, perfect. I don't have any opposing views to doing this, but what I am opposed to is just suspending this permanently. And I think we do need to set a timeline, like we'll reevaluate in 60 days or we'll reevaluate in 80 days or whatever we think is acceptable. So I think that, that's my only standing to it, is that we should set a timeline where we're going to come back to the table and rediscuss this.
Right. It is written to be in effect until September 9th, which is the Tuesday after they can utilize the summer season. And if we wanted to extend it, council would have that option as we get closer.
Yeah, it actually goes away after Labor Day, Rocky, unless council takes action to
Correct.
Are you you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that that's the plan. We're going to do it to the end of Labor Day and reevaluate the needs at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be highly weather dependent as well as anything else. There's been very cold and wet Septembers, and there's been very warm and dry Septembers.
Right. The fall can be beautiful in Ohio.
So this covers the central shopping district and the retail business district, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. We looked at all the restaurants and they were all in either of those two districts. We looked at the impacts and who might be benefited by it. We also looked at not only the rear and side yards, but what would happen in the front yards. We felt it was not in the best interest to do front yards right now for a lot of different reasons, but side and rear yards should work for most of the restaurants if you just don't have any space anywhere, so they wouldn't be able to do anything.
Have other restaurants besides Aurelia asked about this?
No, we've received no official request from anyone else other than Aurelia. There's been some discussion, but I haven't received anything formal.
Okay.
I haven't received any even informal other than Aurelia's.
Well, I'd like to comment that at these extraordinary times, I think this is an excellent idea for multiple reasons. It shows the village is supporting the merchants and the restaurants in the central shopping district, and it's going to help with tax revenues and all kinds of different things, and help these businesses stay alive till we get through this crisis. So I'm very much in favor of this ordinance.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's the right way to help our restaurants at this time. So any other
I
comments?
agree with that.
Any other comments or thoughts, questions? Okay, then hearing no other comments or questions, do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-20?
I
Do we
move
have to have a
adopt
motion to suspend?
Oh, yeah, we gotta have a motion
Yeah.
to suspend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Motion
move
to
to suspend the
suspend.
rules.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Get
I
four
move
of
to
them.
suspend the rules.
I think
Second,
our parliamentarian should be noted as the one who did that first.
Motion to suspend, please.
hold on. I have a motion by Evans with a second by Newell. Roll call, please.
Okay, that works.
All right, Evans,
Aye.
Rube,
Aye.
Newell,
Aye.
Rocky,
aye.
Rogoff,
Aye.
and DiBernardo.
Aye.
And do we have
Adopt.
a motion by Evans, second
Second.
by Mr. Newell? Roll call, please.
Rube,
Aye.
Newell,
Aye.
Rocky,
Aye.
Rogoff,
Aye.
DiBernardo,
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, guys. And that's our legislative evening. Dale, we didn't have a chance to connect today, but we have the miscellaneous. Do you want to lead us off there?
Sure. We had discussions about some of our existing ordinances and what is in our code and what may be lacking based on the times that we're going through right now. And when we started to see some events that were occurring in Minneapolis and then it's spreading into other cities. And then when we saw what happened with Cleveland, we looked a little more closely at our ordinances. And we have a curfew ordinance right now for minors. We do not have any specific ordinance that grants to the mayor the power to impose curfews. The mayor does have that power generally through our charter because he is the chief conservator of the peace and the chief executive of the village. And there's some statutory basis as well in the Ohio Revised Code for him to be able to do that. And it was my suggestion when I was talking to Rob and to the mayor and to Aaron about it, that we ought to pass some legislation that would give the mayor the power specifically to impose curfews under certain warranted circumstances. We've also then looked at our regulations in dealing with permitting for certain assemblages, parades, things of that nature. And right now, we don't have a permitting process that would satisfy what the mayor and the police chief and I would like to see for situations where people want to come and speak in large gatherings or to to go down our streets, sidewalks, parks, whatever. So I've sent you today some proposed language from a couple different communities to talk about, which would go hand in hand with the powers that the mayor would be granted to impose curfews. If you looked at the proclamation that came from the mayor of the city of Cleveland, he was not specifically citing legislative grants in his proclamation. And I thought that when I first saw that maybe that was just something they were doing quickly, but he doesn't have the kind of specific grants of power that you would assume a city like Cleveland has in their code. And so he used his general powers like our mayor would have to be able to declare the curfew and to extend it. So I would propose that we consider for passage at our next meeting next Monday night, adoption of language for the mayor having those powers for curfews and for permitting requirements for specific large gatherings, whether they be impromptu matters or where people want to come and they have enough time planned in advance to have an event in the village.
So that's a lot of information.
It sure is.
I guess I would break out, can we start with the curfew piece? Because that
Sure.
was I mean, you originally brought this up to me in what, early April? I don't even know what month it is anymore. I think it was early April after we went into the pandemic situation. And we were looking at some of, worst case scenarios in that, correct, Dale?
Correct. Yeah, we were concerned about people being quarantined and there being runs on food and essential supplies, and whether people might get drastic and go out of their house when they shouldn't, or they might feel the need to go into Heinen's or CVS or somewhere when they shouldn't be because of some compelling need to get food or sundries, drugs, or whatever.
And so the mayor, the mayor does have an implied power, but we can clear that up by offering an ordinance that would clarify his right.
Right. And we do have a curfew ordinance now, but it only applies to minors.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
We have a curfew ordinance now, but it only applies to minors.
So I'm not opposed to giving the mayor the ability to put in place a curfew. But what I would like us to do is specifically say, he has the ability to grant or put in place an emergency curfew for 72 hours in a 30-day period. So that, if he wants to say for the next 3 days, we have a curfew for 72 hours, and then allow council to then extend it if we so choose. Like we can, so that he can't just, I'm thinking futuristically, Mayor Tomko, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not aiming this at you whatsoever, but so that there's a little bit of a check and a balance in it, because we need to give them the power to do it in an emergency situation, which council doesn't have the ability to do because we have to, publicly post a meeting. But, if we grant 72 hours or some amount of time and set a 5-minute limit.
Well, let me comment on that a little bit. Think of it this way. Council doesn't have executive powers. They only have legislative powers. And it's not a good idea to rely on council to have to come back and impose a curfew again by legislation. You might have a situation where you can't get the councilman you need to have a quorum, or you might get a quorum but not enough to pass as an emergency. If you take Cleveland's example from last week, if Mayor Jackson was limited to 72 hours, he would have, at some point during those 72 hours, when he realized he needed to extend it longer, to try and get a council meeting that quickly would have been extremely difficult in Cleveland. Right now, it might be easier because you can get a Zoom meeting pretty quickly. But if you limit the mayor to just 72 hours in any 30-day period, and then have to hope the council will get together and pass emergency legislation, and then get that out and get it to the police and get it out on the streets, I think it's taking away an extremely important authority that we ought to give to the mayor. Now, the mayor can impose his own curfew independent of council, and I said that at the beginning. So even if you passed legislation, you couldn't stop them from imposing another one. What I would prefer, though, is to see that we have this legislation that gives him that authority when he deems it necessary. And only, what you could do is you could say, if council disagrees, you could then say, if the mayor's extended it, then council could meet and pass legislation to end the curfew.
I like that concept. Now that you mentioned it, we could say, right, we can meet within a certain amount, we have a certain amount of days to meet and end it if we choose to disagree with it.
Don't forget, Rocky, you've got that notice period. And that's what I was going to point out to you before you can even meet. And if, I imposed a curfew on day 1 and then day 2, 48 hours, saw that I was going to need to extend it for a 4th or 5th day, council wouldn't have time to post a meeting notice,
Right.
in a meeting. And, those time periods could be crucial. So I don't think, I certainly wouldn't do it. And I certainly wouldn't impose a curfew without at least verbally, talking to every the council members. And I share your view about nobody knows who's going to be sitting in this seat in the future. But I have a hard time seeing anybody, becoming too arbitrary about that because, as Dale pointed out, council can always, notice a meeting and take corrective action, and that couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, by the way, Mayor, in an emergency, we don't have to wait 24 hours. You could meet immediately and then just give notice when you can to the media.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Dan, you had some thoughts?
Yes, I just wanted to, with Dale, and I would rather not have any restrictions. I think it's important that we're able to respond. And I do respect what the mayor said about he would certainly contact us. And I think anybody else who would be in that position would do that as well.
You certainly would like to think that, and I agree with
yes, and I believe that's true, Mayor.
Nancy, Angie, do you guys have some thoughts at all?
Aaron, I think you might want to comment that the Aurelius folks wanted to know if we needed them anymore, and we don't, I don't think, but that's your call.
I don't have a computer. I can't actually type into those right now.
Oh, okay. Christy, could you do that?
John, we're good with you. You should enjoy your beautiful evening.
And if you can let him know that I'll be in touch with him tomorrow.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob.
Yes.
They have written a note that I'd like to read through the chat, if that's okay. Can I do that, Aaron, or would you prefer not?
Is he just, can we do that again? Let's circle back to that.
It's a thank you note. I'll just say that.
Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Okay, curfew. Nancy, Angie.
Nancy, do you want to go first or should I?
Yeah, I don't care. Go ahead.
I understand the need for emergency power and to be able to act quickly. I am a little uncomfortable with the idea of having no limits on it whatsoever. So I guess I'd like to understand what Dale's saying about how council could act should we in fact not have a reasonable mayor sitting in that chair. So what would we do to take, what is this corrective action we would take, just so that I understand how it works?
Well, if you felt the mayor was abusing his power, you could, well, there's a couple of things. Under the charter, you have some power over that. But if you felt that he was extending the curfew and should no longer, you could meet and have a emergency session and pass legislation revoking this ordinance, or you could say that you've made a legislative finding that the need for the curfew is no longer there, and then you would declare that the curfew is over. Now that gets you into a potential dispute between the executive and legislative branches. And under the charter, the mayor has those powers as the chief conservator. So you would hope that whoever's the mayor wouldn't want to take council on that issue and fight over it. And I just can't imagine a situation where you'd get a majority of council in an emergency meeting to determine we no longer need this curfew and have a mayor that would disagree with it.
Bought it. So what I don't understand too is if he already has the power, what does this do for us? How does this further define the power? You're saying he has the power, but we should pass.
Yeah, if somebody wants to take us to court, we'd want to be able to say, well, the mayor did it under the legislation of the village where there's standards. In the mayor's executive power, there is nothing other than to say he's the chief conservator of the peace. So there's no standards guiding what and when and how. Whereas if you pass legislation, we have some backup to that. It's more for protection for the village in the event there's litigation.
Thank you.
But on that same note, if the mayor has the power to do this, then, and he extended it longer than the council felt that he should, how would we have the authority to stop him if he has the authority to do it in the first place?
Hang on, let me pull something up for you. I was in the
Well, couldn't we just
chart.
from his seat?
What's that?
Wouldn't we just, I mean, isn't the only way to override a mayor in that sort of like situation to remove him from office? Because it'd be like one of
That's
the,
one course, but I have a hard time seeing any mayor faced with 4 council members, at least 4 council members, a majority, in other words, that said an emergency wasn't continuing, and he said there was. I mean, I suppose that could happen, but that would take a rather unusual personality to try to do that. And again, I you know, I want to do the thing that protects the village the most, and because you know how litigious society has become, and that's why Dale had proposed this to me at first, and I said fine. I can't imagine anybody that would try to impose his will when there are 4 people looking at the same, at least 4 people looking at the same facts and saying no. I mean, I suppose it could happen, but
If you found some abuse under the charter, he can be removed by 3/4 of council for gross misconduct, malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance, or for disqualification for office or conviction while in office, or if he's deemed legally incompetent, or for a violation of the oath of office. That last one is a big, broad area, which I had an issue over that in another city last year. And it's interesting, but if the mayor were to want to continue a curfew and council were to have significant evidence as to why it was no longer needed, and the mayor refused, that could be grounds for his removal. Now, you can't get rid of him immediately because he has a right to a hearing and you got to go through a due process, but that would be your ultimate remedy.
So why can't we just make the legislation state that council can have an emergency session to overturn the
curfew.
The curfew. Why am I blanking on the word today? The curfew, because that saves us the hassle of trying to, oust the mayor out of office and dealing with the appeal and everything. And again, Mayor Tomko, I'm not speaking that you would ever do this or that I really think anybody would ever do it.
No, I understand that, and it's not taken that way, Andrew.
It's just, just protecting us in case something crazy does happen, because these are times of uncertainty, and it's kind of shown us that we maybe sometimes need to think a little bit more ahead, and weird things can happen.
Yeah, so where my head is at is I'd be fine if we want to do the council could override it with a 3/4 or whatever. In some ways I like that better than going straight to removing somebody from office. But I think the curfew is probably worth getting the legislation written up and we could look at it Monday. How do you guys feel?
Do you want
I agree
3/4
with
or
that.
2/3?
3/4.
3/4 to override? Okay.
And I think we should consider too, that this really is a pretty heavy-handed kind of a thing to have a curfew. And I'm concerned about imposing something like this in such a short time period as an emergency legislation. We've got a lot of very single-minded, opinionated people in the village. And this affects all of us. If there's a curfew imposed, we all have to stay home too. And I can imagine people, not liking that at all. Not thinking of anybody specific, but it's just how we are.
As Gail stated, the mayor already has the ability to do it.
I
So
understand that, but I think that having the ability to do it and using his own personal judgment is one thing. Passing legislation, which in some ways may confine him more than he even should be or wants to be confined, depending on what the language is. And then it's it's a different kind of a situation, I think, to have legislation by council than the mayor deciding. I think he would take it very seriously to decide to impose a curfew in any event.
Perhaps this isn't the right time to have this legislation because it would be thought of as being pointed at what's going on right now. Maybe
Oh, I'm
it's
sure
something
that it
we ought
would
to
be.
address. What? Pardon me?
I think it would be.
Except we started talking about this 2 months ago.
Right.
Yes,
Well,
but nobody knows that.
right.
Well, if they're listening tonight, they do.
it's on the record
I
now.
understand that. I'm just thinking about the ramifications of doing it now. It would look like it's in response to what's going on in town, and it's something that we certainly should consider. And I do believe in the past there was a curfew put on 1 year on Blossom Time. I think it was Mayor Bodwell. I don't know, maybe you can remember.
I don't remember, Jan. I have
But
no recollection.
it was Blossom Time and they had some problems in Riverside Park, and so they imposed a curfew. And it was aimed at those under 18, but it also involved people that were over 18.
Thanks.
So
Yeah, well, unless you card them, you never know if they're over or under.
correct, right.
Would there be a negative to having this drawn up and then we can sort out on Monday whether this gets passed as an emergency or not?
No, there's no negative.
Council?
I was just gonna say that something. I think we should look at the ordinance on Monday. Continue some rage.
Jim, you're breaking up so bad we can't understand you.
But you made Frank laugh.
I think I'd rather see it on 3 readings if we're going to address it.
Yeah, I do love
That-
3.
I think that's a
I'm
good
not
idea,
pushing
Jim.
for these powers immediately, guys, so don't feel that.
Understand that.
I see no need to impose this now based on what I'm looking at now. So there's no issue with me. And again, this arose from Dale just trying to protect the village and giving me specific legislative authority to do that. So I'm not pushing you to this has got to be enacted, and we need this, and terrible things are going to happen. So
Well,
take your
I
time.
appreciate that.
And if they do, the mayor can just impose a curfew.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We could
Yeah.
have we could have a tornado tonight, and looters running loose in the town, and I could act under my current authority. So
Don't say that. We don't really need that this
Yeah.
week.
Well, you know what I'm saying, Rocky.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I think what Dale, this whole thing came up out of an abundance of caution, not of wanting new legislative authority. So take the time to consider it.
Okay, so
That's fine with me.
3/4
I agree.
for council.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I agree with putting it on 3 readings. I think that's a reasonable thing to do with such a drastic measure.
Yeah.
Well, and if Monday night things are changed, you can always just pass it then.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So we don't have we don't have a burning desire to get this tonight or Monday.
Perfect. Okay. That was the easy part.
Would we get that legislation maybe earlier than Monday?
Oh,
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
come in.
I'm gonna try and get it to you tomorrow, but I'm tied up pretty much all day, so it might not be till Friday.
That's all right.
And
It'll be-
Christie, who's hearing it's going to say, he's holding me up on getting my agenda out again.
Dale.
Okay. The other element that Dale brought up to us was permitting for events in our parks and our streets. We've informally chatted about this over the last couple years, so we've kind of known that this was a little bit of an area of opportunity, if you will. So for anyone watching, right now, we don't really have a very clear permitting process. There are some holes that don't really actually help protect the people who wish to fence, and they also the lack of rules also constrain our safety forces. So where shall we go with this? Any thoughts on what Dale shared with us earlier in regards to permits for events?
Well, I would certainly like to see a strengthening of rules that we have in place.
And to go on top of that, I like the idea of requiring them to have insurance, put up a bond, and pay for additional security forces that are required, above and beyond. Because I think that it's not necessarily the greatest use of taxpayer money to pay for these things that may or may not happen. We can take Dayton a couple of years ago with the Unite the Right rally and all the money that they spent and didn't, nobody ended up showing up.
Aaron, wasn't some
Other
work done on
thoughts?
this?
It's always hard to tell. Has my phone frozen or are people?
Aaron, wasn't some work done on this in parks already?
Yeah.
And what's the status? I know that there were drafts that were put together. Were those sent to facilities, or where are we?
There were no drafts of rules. We didn't get that
Yeah.
far. What we received from Dale were some advice about what exists out there in case law. Dale, is this privilege? Do we go into executive session to discuss the memos?
I'm sorry, you got cut off. What'd you say?
Is this privilege? With the memos that we have?
The memos would be privileged. If we discuss it in the meeting, it would lose its privilege.
So
Aaron, you're breaking up like Newell. We couldn't hear a word you said or understand it.
oh, good. You didn't get the secrets. We could get those memos out for council to see, but privilege protects the village in the long run. So that's why we're discussing them here in a public meeting because they're legal advice.
So can we go into executive session?
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, this would be to go into executive session to discuss a legal opinion issued to the village by the law director and to continue the discussion in executive session in order to avoid any waiver of the attorney-client privilege.
Yes. Do I need to make that into a motion or can I just say so moved?
You could say so moved.
So moved by group. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. Roll call, please.
Newell,
Get busy here. Can you hear me?
Who's
Hi, you called
Hi,
my.
there you go.
I think we need to hold a bake sale and buy Newell a new computer.
I'm going down microlender tomorrow.
Christy, do you want us to go into the breakout room?
Don't we need to vote?
Roll call.
yeah.
We got to finish the vote.
All right.
Can we get a response from Newell?
Jim?
Raise your hand, Jim.
Okay, I think, did I hear A?
He raised his hand.
Nick, thumbs up.
I heard an aye from him.
Okay, Rocky,
Aye.
Rogoff,
Aye.
DiBernardo,
Aye.
Evans,
Aye.
and Groom.
Aye. Okay, so we are going to go into executive session. This meeting will stay open. We are not going to vote on anything tonight.
Okay.
So but we will return back to this meeting in order to adjourn.
Okay.
And we will take council, the mayor, and Dale. Dale, do we need anybody else?
Rob,
Rob, okay.
Frank.
And can we let Frank have his evening, or
sure.
he looks happy to have you win. And then we can let Julie. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so
Thanks,
everyone
Julie.
received a separate meeting invitation from Christy at about 7 o'clock this evening with instructions of how to get into the executive session meeting. So.
Yes.
but
Erin,
now-
I'll take over. So
Yes.
once this meeting began, I hit send on an email and the subject line says executive session. It simply contains a link for you to click on to join a meeting. So step 1, you're going to exit this meeting. Step 2, you're going to go to your email and click on the email titled executive session. You'll join that meeting. When that meeting is done, you'll exit that meeting and come back to this one. So we're just switching meetings.
Okay, I will
I
see you
will
in the,
keep the meeting open and wait for your return.
But Christy,
Yes,
we're supposed to press the leave button on this meeting?
yes, Nancy.
Okay.
Hello, Christy.
Hi.
You're in the Golden Gate, on the Golden
Oh,
Gate Bridge.
goodness,
That's nice.
Yes. And Angie, so I'm running this one from the Zoom 2 account, and I'm gonna, because I can't be a part of the executive session, I'm trying to throw it over to you.
That is why I couldn't log in, because I'm in the Zoom 2 account.
Oh,
So
okay.
I finally figured out, like, oh my God, why am I not being allowed in? And it said, she's already in the meeting. So I had to.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's
Okay.
I just didn't know that was happening.
And I didn't know you
Okay.
used the Zoom 2 account, so.
Yeah, it's just been logged on since the beginning, but I just unlogged it from it was set on my application.
Okay.
But all figured out.
I am
So, okay.
I'm trying to
You're
learn
gonna try
from
to
my,
send this to me?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying, because I'm using my phone. This is the first time I've,
Right, done this.
Christy, I can't get in the executive session.
Who's on?
I can't get in the executive session.
I can't, all I got is you.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Dale, how many people need to go back into the main meeting at the end of this in order to adjourn? 4. We'll only bring 4 people back into the other meeting.
Okay. Erin, do we go back to the original email from that meeting and log on that way?
Yes,
Okay.
I volunteer as tribute.
Good job.
True. and
So-
myself.
Okay.
Angie, I may need your help.
Okay.
Mayor, oh, I don't see him as on right now.
Is the mayor in Chagrin Falls 1? I can log in.
No,
I can't host though, so
no, oh, there's the host. Okay, hold on.
you found
Oh.
it? Good, okay.
Let me click on you and say, hold on, let me make you the host.
Okay,
It says make host.
okay.
Okay. Andy, you are the host. I'm gonna hang up from this so I can call Mayor Tomko and help him get in. He's having a struggle. So I'm gonna hang up and I'll see you later.
Bye, Christie.
Bye.
Good luck to you.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Andy.
Angie, this is Jim.
Yeah, oh, hi, Jim. Good, you called in. Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You don't want to be bumped in, Jim?
Yeah. I'm asking, can you hear me?
Hey, Jim, this is Christy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're still in the original meeting. And you need to end this meeting.
Okay.
But before you do, let me give you the instructions.
Okay.
I sent an email
Yeah.
and the subject says executive session. Do you have that email?
I will tell you in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I need to end this. I understand. Yeah, I did get I'm gonna, all right. So now what I need is to end this Zoom.
Yep. And
And
go
I have
into that
the
one.
exception.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
don't go into it. Do I need to end it?
Yes, you need to end this.
Okay, all right.
Hi, it's okay. I'm gonna get you in, no problem. So I want you to, are you into any meeting right now? Okay, perfect, that's great. So just go to join.zoom.us. We're just gonna get you in from scratch. I'll give you the meeting ID. Now, I'm gonna give you a different meeting ID. I think you were using the agenda and that's the wrong ID. Eight 2550 0038. Okay, and after this meeting, you're gonna exit this and then go back to the original one. Okay, you got it. You're in. All right, bye.
Yeah, I'll call you back. Christy, you're great.
I'm working on it.
You're
Jim,
good.
are you
You're
in
good.
another meeting?
No, I tried. I said click here to join, and I'm still in the old meeting.
Okay, so I don't think it'll let you into two meetings at once. Do you have the meeting ID for the executive session, or do you need me to give it to you?
No, I have it. I have it. I have it. I have it.
Okay.
So how do I get out of this? Stop video?
Nope, let me kick you out. I'm gonna remove you. I'm gonna kick you out of this meeting, okay?
You got my permission. Kick me out.
Hi, Angie.
Hey, Christy. Hi. We're having an issue with the exec session, so I'm going to need to start another meeting. We popped back in here, but because my account was a free account that you made me the host, it ended in 10 minutes and it turned it off.
I'm so sorry. This is the best workaround we have.
I
given the-
know. So I'm gonna make a new meeting, I guess, and then.
You're with the account that you just created?
Well, no, because that'll be a limited meeting too. I'd have to make it with one of the other main, like the paid accounts. I upgraded an account and paid my own account, but it won't. It has to verify that through email, so it won't do it for 24 hours. So basically, we're just kicked out. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm waiting to hear.
So what I can do, I don't know if I have to keep this session open or if I can close this and reopen it to adjourn. By law, I don't know if I
Okay,
need
let
to
me
keep.
let me see if I can launch the other meeting. I don't. Andrew's saying you can open the same meeting, but it's under. I don't. I've got a. It's not my meeting. It was your meeting. That's the thing.
Do you want me to try to launch it again? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Sure.
was it in Zoom 2 or Zoom 1? Is it in Zoom 1?
The executive session was in Zoom 2.
Okay, and you're not in Zoom 2 right now, right? You're in
Correct.
Zoom 1? Okay, so I will see. Is it under meetings? It's a meeting, right? Here
Correct.
it is. Okay, so I will try to open it and
I'm
see.
here.
Hey,
Yeah,
just so
hi.
you know, Angie, we can relaunch the same meeting.
Right. The thing is, it wasn't my meeting. It was Christy's meeting. So she gave it to me in a different account. So that's the issue. But I just logged into the other account and I can try to reopen it.
I
But
can just do it right now, Angie, and then throw it back over to you. It's no problem.
if it will give me a new 10 minutes, because it basically would only allow 10 minutes on that other account. So
I thought it.
because the account I was in is not a paid account.
Angie,
Yeah.
Angie, I think you're in the public meeting account. It still shows Larry Trace on here.
I
Yeah,
know
right
it is
now
because
we're in the
I'm
public
talking to
meeting.
Christy. So
Yeah, and I came back because I didn't know where else to go. But
Right.
I reopened that meeting and it was
And-
no problem.
were you back in it? Okay, so I can
Yeah.
just go join now and it'll open up again. Okay, so we'll do
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna go just rejoin
Okay,
it
so
and we'll see
I'll
what
log
happens.
out of this and I'll try that. Okay.
What do we?
So we should all leave this meeting?
Yeah, and go into the exec meeting a second time is what Andrew thinks we can do.
All right.
Okay.
And, okay,
So you're doing another meeting?
the same.
Okay,
Go back
I
into
opened
the,
one.
go back
opened
into
one up.
the original executive session.
Anybody in this meeting?
Christie's here.
Oh, Christie, it's still, I can't get into the executive session.
Do you have the email titled executive session?
Yeah, I tried to go in that way and I was the only one in there.
And it's ending in 0038?
Hang on a second. It is.
Did you exit this meeting first?
Yeah, but I could try that again. Let me try
It might-
exiting. Yeah.
I think, as far as I can tell, with one account, it only allows you to participate in one meeting at a time, which makes sense.
Right.
Give it
Okay,
another
so-
try. I'm here if you need me.
I will. Thanks.
Okay. Yep.
Christie?
Yes.
Yeah, it let me in, but it said the host isn't there, so nothing was happening.
Okay. Let me. So Angie hosted. Give me a second, if you would, please. See if we can troubleshoot. I'm in the meeting, but no one else is.
So Rocky just sent one.
Did he send a new one, perhaps? Did they establish a brand new meeting?
Well, wait a minute. When they're in group to. Oh, so I went out of mine because nobody else was in it. So let me go in and I'm gonna tell everybody, go back to my meeting now. And there's a 2-minute delay. So if you
Okay.
hear from anybody, wait, let me take Aaron.
Okay. Yeah,
Aaron?
I think Rob sent me a note saying it wouldn't let him in.
I got Christie on my headset and I got you on my speaker on my phone, but I went out of mine because nobody else went in. I'll go back into mine if everybody wants to go that route.
Yeah, everyone's waiting to get into yours. If you want to go in, we can.
Okay, I will do that.
Perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thanks. All right, so I'm gonna leave this meeting, Christie, and start over.
Okay.
Is there anybody else in this meeting?
Just
Who's in this meeting?
Christie.
Okay, because I can't get into Dale's.
Yeah, I just popped in here too, but yeah, nobody can get into Dale's. This is the exec session meeting though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening out there with you folks. Are
Right.
people trying to start their own meetings?
Well, what happened was your meeting, because you weren't the host, ended because I was the host and I only have 10 minutes because I'm a free account.
Ah,
So it ended,
30 minutes.
10 for the account that I was on because I logged in as a guest thing. And then Christie just took, maybe it was true. Maybe they gave me a warning at 10 minutes.
yeah.
And then you just took it back over. So you have a paid account. You can run this meeting all day long. But I'm not the host right now. You are.
I can throw it back over. I can throw it back over to you, but no one else is on it except you and Andrew, correct?
Right. So we can get people to come back in here if we want,
Yep.
if they listen and know that they can come back in here.
You want me to, I can send a new email out to the group.
Send an email, yeah, why don't you do that right now to the big group?
And I'm gonna hang here because I sat in Dale's waiting room for 10 minutes.
I know, nobody can get into Dale's meeting, because Dale tried to start a meeting. Okay, what,
Ooh, I got a text message.
okay, so he wants, oh, Oh, Dale is starting Zoom right now. Okay, so Dale's starting his own one?
Oh, I won't send this email then.
Should we try to pop out and jump to Dale's?
Yeah, if somebody, I'll pop out and Angie, I'll text you if I get
Okay,
it.
do that.
Okay, I will
Sounds
not
good.
send this email. It sounds like Dale's initiating.
Yeah, it sounds like Aaron said that he started the meeting.
I'm sorry, this is so complicated.
No, we'll work it out. First time, you know?
So webinars don't allow breakout rooms, only meetings, and I didn't know that. And so moving forward, I'll establish meetings instead of webinars for that purpose, but
Right,
it presents other challenges then. So
right, I know. So,
we'll figure it out.
great. We'll see whether I get a text from Andrew now. I could just be done.
Yeah.
Like, technical difficulties.
I was like, short meeting, I should be home by 8:15.
I know, I was hoping that too. I told my kids 8-ish, so whatever, I was supposed to do something online with them, but I guess that's not happening.
And I'm back.
Hello.
Hello, we're back.
Super.
We're back.
Rob's
Must
back.
have been a productive discussion.
Yeah, I just came to see if it worked coming back in. You don't need me, so I'm gonna leave.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, we're waiting for Angie and then we'll
Okay.
Where did she go? Is she having trouble again? Oh no.
Oh, wait a minute. She probably has to log, hold on. I'll get her. I got her. Thank you.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Yeah, this whole two Chagrin Falls things is confusing me. I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Executive 9/11. With no other business on the agenda, I adjourn this meeting at 9/11.
Great
Okay.
job.
Thank you guys for joining us
Thank
tonight.
you. Good night.
Have a good night.